A man convicted of his second gun crime, yet prosecutors recommend a light sentence. Next at 4, we question the city-state's attorney on the arrangement. A push to deny plea deals for certain violent crimes. Our team is live in Annapolis as lawmakers discuss this new safety bill. A fatal fire rocks a Dundalk neighborhood.
Because after the fire, I heard boom, like a bomb or something.
What investigators have learned so far. Then the fate of a well-performing charter school set to be decided. We're going to be monitoring the school board meeting to bring you the outcome as it happens.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
The justice system, again, says that there are no consequences or repercussions for your action.
An influx of guns on the streets of Baltimore and this afternoon are concerned that gun offenders are getting off easy. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. It is the sentencing of a 26-year-old that is raising questions about punishment for convicted gun offenders.
Yeah, just 3.5 years ago, that same man was convicted of a gun offense. After less than 3 months behind bars, he was released.
Alexa Ashwell is live with the latest sentencing that is raising even more questions. Alexa?
Yes, Kai and Mary, we've heard it time and time again from state and local leaders that more needs to be done to address the issue of guns here in Baltimore. Well, some believe this sentencing doesn't do that.
Frustration in Baltimore.
The courts, again, have said go back to the streets.
After this week's sentencing of convicted gun offender Kendrick Harrison, the 26-year-old appeared before a judge in Baltimore City District Court after pleading guilty to yet another gun charge. Court documents detailing back on January 23rd, officers had found a loaded handgun in Harrison's car near the corner of Penn North in West Baltimore.
He still has 1 in the chamber, which means he's ready to fire it, and 15 in the magazine. He's at Penn and North, a high crime area where citizens of this city have complained over and over again that not enough policing is done.
Legal expert and former FBI agent Tyrone Powers says he sat in on Harrison's sentencing and was shocked by the prosecutor's recommendation given Harrison's criminal history.
A suspended sentence with credit for time served. And the judge rejected it and gave him 1 year, but we'll give him credit for time served. And this is a second-time gun offender.
According to court documents, back in 2019, Harrison was arrested after officers found a loaded handgun on him during a traffic stop on North Avenue, just a mile away from this most recent arrest. Records show a judge suspended all but about 3 months of a 3-year sentence and placed Harrison on 3 years supervised probation. Given this history, Power says Harrison should have faced a much harsher penalty.
The justice system, again, says that there are no consequences or repercussions for your action.
Fox 45 News taking these concerns to Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who vowed to be tough on guns when he took the helm at the beginning of this year.
And enough is enough.
Asking the office to confirm and explain its recommendation and how it protects the public.
At some point, you've also got to look at victims, and you have to say this is a second gun charge. You did have a second chance.
Now, a spokesperson with Bates's office acknowledged my questions. I have not yet received a response. We, of course, will check back at 5. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, Fox 45 News has been demanding solutions to crimes committed by repeat offenders. Last summer, Baltimore police say this man, Joseph Black, struck an officer during an arrest. He has a long rap sheet of previous convictions and sentences, but he's back on the street. That same month, police say 20-year-old Austin Davidson shot and killed a Wicomico County sheriff. 3 years before, when he was sentenced 17, he pleaded guilty to armed robbery, but was set free in 2020. And then, of course, there's Luther Trent. We've talked a lot about him, a convicted arsonist who told our Mackenzie Frost he couldn't believe his 6-month sentence after setting his ex-girlfriend's house on fire.
I was just charged with 18 different counts. That was dropped to 10, and then it was dropped to 1 when I shouldn't be out right now.
Do you think that you deserve to be out of jail?
Personally, yes. But on a principle note, no.
Well, that plea deal under Marilyn Mosby was tossed out. He has been sentenced to 22 years for 3 counts of attempted homicide charges.
Turning to session 2023 coverage, today was a hearing for a Republican-backed bill to prevent repeat offenders from getting plea deals. Now, that bill would stop the court from offering a plea deal to anyone who's been convicted of a violent crime, such as murder, rape, assault, robbery, and more. Olivia Dance is in Annapolis. She was at that hearing and has more. Olivia?
Well, Kai, the hearing wrapped up just a couple hours ago here in Annapolis, and Republican Delegate Metzger is sponsoring the bill. Now, he says the bill would address the violent crime that we're seeing across the state, including in Baltimore City.
We talk about we want to be tough on crime. We as lawmakers, as leaders, we need to send a message. And the message is that, just like Ivan Bates said, if you want to commit a crime, bring your toothbrush. This bill is going to eliminate the plea bargain.
Now, you just heard Metzger mention Baltimore's new city state's attorney, Ivan Bates, who has promised to be tougher on crime. Supporters of this bill say eliminating plea deals for repeat violent offenders would give state's attorneys another tool in their toolbox. The bill is Republican-backed and faced some concerns from Democrats during today's hearing, including concerns of an increased workload for state's attorneys. But Delegate Metzger is defending the bill, saying that repeat violent criminals need to be held accountable, and this bill is just one way of stopping them. Back to you.
And Olivia, given the Democratic majority in Annapolis, is Delegate Metzger worried about getting the support of Democrats to pass the bill?
Yeah, Kai, that's a great question. It's definitely a concern of his, but he says that he is willing to work together with both sides and even willing to make changes to this bill to ensure that at least some version of it passes. But for now, reporting live in Annapolis, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Olivia. That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think people who are charged with violent crimes should be offered plea deals? The poll just went live. You can make your voice heard by going to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
The Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement unveiled its first ever public safety accountability dashboard today, meant to highlight public safety metrics across Baltimore, where already 42 people have been killed this year. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live now with a closer look at the expectations behind this dashboard. Maxine?
Well, Mary, this dashboard just unveiled today is the first of its kind, and it's meant to be more transparent than ever before about public safety here in the city of Baltimore. It's a real-time snapshot of public safety and allows you to track crime data throughout Baltimore City down to your neighborhood or even the police district you live in. It includes not just homicides and non-fatal shootings, but arrests, prosecution and conviction data, even sentencing and demographics throughout the city. City leaders say it's designed to bring greater levels of transparency and allow the public to hold agencies accountable for things they promised to do here in Baltimore.
Data is a powerful public asset, and being good stewards of our data resources entails making us seeking the most effective and transparent practices to ensure that this information is not only accurate, but is accessible to the public. Making Baltimore a leader in data-driven solutions is important, but upholding my commitment to transparency and accessibility in ways that also bring our government into the 21st century lies at the crux of what is now a tool available to all Baltimoreans invested in the public safety of our communities.
Well, we asked if this will hopefully help prevent crime throughout Baltimore. Mayor Scott telling us that police have already had access to this data. Actually, the whole city has through open data on the police department's website for years, and they've already been using it. And this is, like he mentioned, an effort to be more transparent. It also doesn't include a whole lot about the city's CVI ecosystem, which is Safe Streets, a program we have been questioning now for the past year. We'll have more on that coming up at 5, but live for now from City Hall, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Maxine. Disrupting the cycle of violence and saving lives is the goal of several organizations across Baltimore. The group ROCA teaches young men to stop and think before reacting. Youth workers focus on participants between 16 and 24 years of age, meeting them where they are, often at their homes or in the community. The goal is to teach job and other skills to help those young men heal their trauma and find a way out of a life of crime.
Some of them are conditioned to feel like that's just another day in the hood. They're relentless in violence. We had to be relentless in solutions.
We understand that when you are highly traumatized, you're most likely to react in situations where you genuinely feel like your life is in danger. these young people are in a constant state of fear. Instead of pulling out a gun or instead of getting into a conflict, they flex that thought. And it's not that they owe Roka anything. They owe themselves this, and they owe their families this.
Tonight at 10 o'clock, Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost rides along with Roka and shares more about the program working to help young people in Baltimore change their lives. Misconduct in the medical field and a push for transparency, why patients are unable to learn the history of their health care providers, even when the information is out there.
Then I heard and grabbed my kids because after the fire, I heard boom, like a bomb or something.
This morning claims the lives of 2 people in Dundalk. The investigation underway in what neighbors saw.
Will up to $400 billion in student loan debt be erased? The Supreme Court weighing the president's controversial move. I'm Scott Thuman on Capitol Hill with both sides coming up.
And the next risk of rain will be moving in, but not this afternoon. Temperatures in the 50s, falling back into the 40s. Nice, quiet PM commute. I'll let you know when highs could reach near 70 and when we'll get a big wet down around here. That's in my Weather Authority forecast, day by day, hour by hour.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Making headlines now, an investigation underway in Dundalk after a deadly fire.
That fire broke out around 6 o'clock this morning at a home near Sandy Plains Elementary School. 2 people are confirmed dead. Another person who was at the home at the time was able to make it out with non-life-threatening injuries. We spoke with neighbors who tell us what they heard and saw.
Well, I don't feel safe anywhere anymore, you know, and I barricade my doors and all at night because I don't know, I don't feel safe even going up the road the way things are today.
Then I heard and grabbed my kids because after the fire, I heard boom, like a bomb or something. Like I heard booming, and then the fire started exploding. So I just heard explosion, 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 a bunch of explosion. So I grabbed my kids and ran down the street.
Well, the two people killed have not been identified as investigators look into the cause. The Red Cross is helping those who are displaced.
Harford County firefighters also dealing with a fire early this morning. Happened just after 6 a.m. on Shady Drive in Edgewood. A mobile home went up in flames there. Investigators say a resident woke up to find a fire in her bedroom already burning. They believe a space heater started it. Luckily, everybody who lived in the home was able to get out. No injuries reported. And you can be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com. Click on the mobile alert sign up under the station tab. Well, take a look at this. Ready? It's coming. A sheet of ice flying off a vehicle in Rochester, New York happened this week. In fact, we're hearing from one auto glass shop worker who says they've received more than 100 calls in the past week from people whose windshields were shattered by flying ice.
It's a lot more than sometimes we can't even take phone calls. Like they're just coming in 4 lines at the same time. Sometimes emails. It's been a lot.
We were driving down I-90 and we were trying to pass a tractor trailer truck. All of a sudden, corner of my eye, I saw a whole bunch of ice flying at us. Tried my best to stomp on the brake, swerve. It just couldn't miss it. Scared the living crap out of all of us in there.
Whew, it may seem obvious, but the best way to prevent situations like this, take a minute to clear snow from the roof of your car where it usually is. It can be tough, though, because I used to have a big SUV. I couldn't get to the roof. I just would drive like this.
Gotta gain a few feet on the arms, right?
We didn't have that problem, but it is like probably a lot of it. It's illegal in the state of Maryland to allow ice to stay on your car. If it flies off and goes to my windshield, you're liable for that.
I know.
So you have to clear off, but it is hard to get to sometimes. I get it.
I would be like up there climbing up my car. Yeah. It's hard to do, but it is dangerous.
I hear you, but yeah, thankfully, again, around here, do not have to worry about anything like that. Just, a state to our north, they had about a 1/4 inch of ice out of a couple of systems ago. And the last system we just had that we finished up with, they actually got about 2-3 inches of snow in western New York. So they're the snow jackpot, and we are in the snow drought. 54 degrees right now. Toyota East Unit Harbor Sky came winds out of the east at 7. And our humidity 66%. Of course, it's too warm for a wind chill. No wind chill there on the board. HD radar showing the last little bits of snow. As I mentioned, Boston, Montreal, all the way east to portions of Maine. There's all kinds of winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings. Next weather maker gearing up across the upper Midwest. For now, it is sunny. It is dry. It will remain beautiful for tomorrow as well. But our eyes on this west of Minneapolis. You can see here, again, all this kind of coming together as we head into Wednesday between the Great Lakes and the Deep South, picking up some moisture, and boom, there it is. Through Thursday, that's when we have our next chance of some rain, and that will last into Friday as well as a chilly rain, in fact, sets up. There could be maybe a little brief period of wet snow or sleet at the front end of some of that as we head into Friday. So right now, temperatures of the 50s to right around 60, coolest north and east, warmest south and west. We're actually at 60 right around Laurel last hour. We're now at 59, 54 in Baltimore. Sun has broken out after some clouds this morning. Right near the water, it's a little bit cooler too. Temperatures right around 50, but still, we're about 5 to 15 degrees warmer than just 24 hours ago. So the future scan as we head into the afternoon and the evening clears out nicely. Temperatures settling down into the low 30s likely by early tomorrow morning. No travel problems here. Going to need those sunglasses to start by lunchtime tomorrow. 12 o'clock, temperatures in the mid to upper 40s, and it looks like we touch the 50s once again, I think, tomorrow afternoon. And then there's that next system moving in for us as we head into early Thursday. Notice that band of rain, but that's all it is rain. As it appears we only settle down into the 40s by early on Thursday morning. Could see that brief chance, especially of a morning shower or two. And then after that, boy, temperatures really going to be warming up. So as we head into the 7-day forecast, 57 degrees for tomorrow. Skies clear nicely tonight. Few showers here and there, especially earlier in the day on Thursday. Rain showers on Friday. Look at that cooler temperature, 51, low of 39, especially well north towards the PA line, especially the European computer model. You've heard us talk about that one before, saying there could be at least a brief period of wet snow to lead some of that in, but temperatures are going to be above freezing. So not really too worried, especially after the highs near 70 on Thursday of anything in terms of accumulation there. And then temperatures in the 50s, which is still above average as we wrap up a record warm February here in Baltimore. heading into March.
Dr. Santelises, can we just get a quick word with you?
After our emails to city school leaders go ignored, we track them down. Project Baltimore demands answers on the repeated education failures in some city schools. It's decision day for Baltimore City Collegiate School for Boys, the fight to save the charter school, and the gridlock decision from city schools. And 6 Republican-led states are challenging the legality of President Biden's student loan forgiveness program. Next, the latest from the U.S. Supreme Court. One of President Biden's big campaign promises is now in the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court. The administration's move to erase student loan debt for millions of Americans has been mired in legal battles since he announced it last year. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman's in Washington with both sides of the argument for us tonight. Good evening, Scott.
Yeah, good evening, Mary. You know, this, if we look at the background, because it's perspective here for what we're looking at now. This has been blocked in lower courts, the plan put on ice, and so it made its way up now to the Supreme Court. And again, as you pointed out, this is one of President Biden's campaign promises, although he was initially aiming for $10,000, up to $10,000 in relief for students who carried on this federal debt. Now, of course, that was escalated to $20,000, and it only amped up the controversy over this decision. So 3 hours of debate and arguments today, and the balance really now to be decided by these 9 justices. The line of mostly debt-carrying students and graduates around the Supreme Court Tuesday for a landmark case deciding President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, up to $20,000 for around 40 million Americans, crippling fees that can burden them for most of their lives.
The justices also have undergraduate degrees, they have law school degrees, and so they know the burden that thousands of dollars can be.
President Biden based his power on the decades-old 9/11 HEROES Act to pause certain federal loan payments due to national emergencies, in this case the COVID pandemic. But 6 Republican-led states and 2 Texas borrowers argue the administration does not have the authority, that Congress controls the nation's purse strings, not the president. Though with a 6-3 conservative majority, the court may be skeptical of the administration's reach, which could come with a price tag of $400 billion over the next 30 years.
I think most casual observers would say if you're going to give up that much amount of money, they would think that's something for Congress to act on.
But the court considering arguments that erasing debt could have a positive economic benefit elsewhere.
There will be a tremendous benefit to the states from this cancellation because that extra money will result in increased consumer spending and less defaults on other loans that those borrowers may have.
The justices also could be swayed by complaints from people like Ed Evans outside of Baltimore, who we interviewed for Full Measure, one of 70 million Americans who didn't get a degree and spent their money elsewhere, instead in his auto shop.
I feel slighted. What am I going to get? You know, my tax dollars are going to pay for someone else, and I didn't get anything.
Meanwhile, some wonder if erasing that debt will at all help curb the ever-increasing cost of higher education. Another consideration for the justices is the argument that some of these borrowers would actually be better off financially now if the program stays in place than they were before the pandemic, and that fundamentally is not the intent of the HEROES Act. Mary?
And reporting for us from Washington, D.C., thank you. And do you think President Biden's plan to forgive some student loans is fair? Yes or no? Take out your phone, open the camera, point it at the QR code right there on your screen, and you can then weigh in on our national question of the day.
Now, as I go to doctors, of course, I'm way more hesitant. I want to know their background. I want to know if they've ever had sexual misconduct or endangered any of their clients.
Misconduct by some healthcare providers being tallied in a federal database, yet patients unable to see it. The push for more transparency. And in just 30 minutes, city school leaders will be making a decision on whether to keep the Baltimore City Collegiate School for Boys open or not. A preview of that decision. And our Project Baltimore team continues to demand answers after a state assessment finds 23 city schools with 0 students tested proficient in math.
After weeks of waiting, tonight the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys will finally learn its fate.
In a meeting that is expected to be heavily attended, the school board is scheduled to vote on renewing or rejecting the school's charter.
It comes after a divided school board reached a stalemate last week. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor joins us now, live outside school headquarters with details of tonight's meeting. Rebecca?
Mary and Kai, after the board was unable to come to a decision last week, they deferred that vote to today. And unlike the board meetings we've been covering in the past, this one will be held in person, which means it's likely parents will join to protest the school's possible closure. Now, you'll remember this comes following Baltimore City Schools CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises recommending the board renew Baltimore Collegiate's charter. But in discussing that recommendation, she also had some conditions for the school, such as hiring more certified teachers and improving special education services. Despite that, the board still deadlocked with a 5-5 vote last week. However, if all 11 board members attend tonight's meeting, that could be the tiebreaker here amid all of the controversy. Baltimore Collegiate CEO telling us he's remaining optimistic.
That's their job, to have concerns. And so I want them to work that out. I want them to be able to be comfortable with supporting us. But I implore them to just think about what we do for the city. There's lots of parents who thank us for turning their sons around.
In fact, the school tracks students who go on to high school. They say their graduation rates are above 90%, while city public schools only graduate 67% of students. A Fox 45 Project Baltimore investigation also uncovering 23 Baltimore City public schools where not one student was proficient in math, schools that aren't facing scrutiny or at risk of closure. Tonight's vote is expected to take place around 5 p.m. this evening, so stay with us throughout the broadcast as we bring you the board's final decision. Hiring more certified teachers and improving special
Project Baltimore came to
education services. Despite that, the board still
this event at Edmondson Westside High School
deadlocked with a 5-5 vote last week
to get answers.
Good morning, everyone.
However, if all 11 board members
thank you.
We wanted to speak with Baltimore City
attend tonight's meeting, that could be the tie
school CEO, Dr. Sonia
Santelises here amid all of the controversy.
About some concerning
Baltimore Collegiate CEO telling us he's
state test results.
She's going out back.
But as soon as the event ended, Dr. Santelises made a quick exit.
Dr. Santelises.
Leaving behind the curtains and hurrying down the hallway.
Dr. Santelises, can we just get a quick word with you? Can we just ask you a couple questions about the recent MCAP scores for math that came out for the school system?
Earlier this month, a Project Baltimore investigation found 23 city schools where not a single student who took the state MCAP math exam scored proficient.
Well, you sent us a statement, but we're just...
While that report has sparked public outcry, drawing national attention, Dr. Santelises has refused to answer our questions about her school system.
I think parents would like to hear directly from you, the parents that go to these schools.
Chris, parents have heard. They've heard at board meetings. We're rolling out our plans. We're visiting schools. We have, Chris. Thanks so much. It's really good to see you.
But who do you hold responsible for the 23 schools that don't have any students who tested proficient in math?
In response to our reporting, City Schools posted a statement on its website about how it plans to improve math scores, which includes professional development for teachers, small group learning, and an extended learning period at the end of the day.
Our school leaders are the most important school-based factor in student success.
But what about the head of the Maryland State Department of Education, Dr. Mohammed Chaudhry? What is his plan to help the students and families at these 23 troubled schools? MSDE oversees Maryland's public education system and a budget around $11 billion. Good
afternoon.
So after numerous emails and phone calls went unanswered, we showed up in person.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Within minutes of walking in, we were met by Dr. Sylvia Lawson, the Deputy State Superintendent for Organizational Effectiveness.
I've been trying to get a hold of you and Dr. Chaudhry.
She holds one of the highest positions in the State Department of Education, but she didn't have much to say.
Whenever we have an opportunity, we will contact you.
Okay. I mean, we've been trying for months. You haven't had an opportunity for months?
Thank you so much, Mr. Papps. I appreciate it.
No, but this is important. We'd like to ask him about the MCAP scores. We'd like to ask him about a number of issues pertaining to the school systems in the state.
You know, Mr. Papps, this is a very busy time of the year with legislative sessions. So, as I've said before, you know, we have contacted you whenever you have had questions.
No, you have not. That is not a true statement. I have emailed you.
That is a true statement, sir. So if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer, please email me again or give me a number and I'll give you a call.
We have been emailing you since December 9th about certain issues concerning enrollment and reimbursement. We have emailed you for the past couple.
We have answered your questions, sir.
No, but Miss, you clearly have not answered our questions.
Clearly,
I mean, I can.
Sir. Clearly,
I will show the emails on TV. You have not answered our questions.
Our attempts to get answers on a number of topics, including enrollment, funding, and GO students, go back to December 9th, when we sent this email to MSDE. Since then, we've resent that same email 7 times and never received a reply. We've also called multiple times and never heard back.
Baltimore City is facing a devastating reality.
And after Project Baltimore exposed the concerning state test scores at those 23 city schools, we tried again. We sent emails requesting an interview with Dr. Chaudhry 4 times since February 2nd. Again, no replies or call back. That's 12 total emails and multiple phone calls that MSDE has never responded to. Even after we spoke with Dr. Lawson, they still didn't respond. So we sent one more email, this one to the Maryland State Board of Education, requesting to sign up for public comment at this Tuesday's state school board meeting. Coming up on Wednesday, we'll show you what happens. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Baltimore Councilman Robert Stokes has announced that the council will hold an oversight hearing on Baltimore City Public Schools. It will take place April 6th, 2 months after news of the report broke.
Well, a Fox 45 News investigation revealing Baltimore City might not have been entirely transparent when it comes to last summer's sinkhole on North Avenue. That sinkhole destroyed homes, and now homeowners are left without help from the city. The city claimed it inspected the storm drain that led to the sinkhole, but new documents are telling a different story. We obtained the history of work done on that storm drain, and we found out the last time it was inspected was 23 years ago.
They looking at it as East Baltimore, these houses not worth no money. I think Brandon Scott don't even care about this area. It was no failure, damages done to it. How do you know? So now you lying to me, you're denying me, and you neglecting me all at once?
Well, that was not the only thing we found. You can watch the full report coming up at 5.
The emergency allotment of the Federal Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or what's known as SNAP, ends tomorrow for Marylanders. The extra money was approved back in 2020 to help families get through the pandemic. Households received an extra $95 per month because of the emergency allotment. According to a federal filing asking for the extension of benefits in February, Maryland distributed more than 340,000 emergency allotment benefits, totaling more than $69 million. Trending now, a retired firefighter in Crownsville has quite the good luck story to tell.
He sure does. Last week, the 62-year-old became $2 million richer after winning the top prize and a Gold Rush scratch-off. According to the Maryland Lottery, he was scheduled to see his cardiologist for a stress test that same morning. He stopped at the Royal Farms in Millersville before the appointment, and once he had found out that he won, because it's instant, he called off his appointment saying his heart was racing too fast to have an accurate stress test.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I have a feeling when he goes back in, it's going to be the greatest reading the doctor's ever seen.
He'll have good blood pressure.
Yes, everything will be perfect.
He has a lot to live for. We're excited for him.
Congrats. With thousands of Nissan vehicles being recalled, the car is affected and the reason why.
And the next several days, take a look. Temperatures should be at about 50 for this time of year. Even when it cools down, it won't get there. I'm going to let you know if we have any rain to accompany this into the beginning of March. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
So many people would know the truth and would be so much safer.
Few patients know whether their own doctors have medical misconduct in their past. The push for transparency in the healthcare industry. Well, the Maryland Zoo in Baltimore announces the sad death of an 8-year-old cheetah. The cheetah, named Bud, was put down after a long digestive illness. Zoo officials say even with specialized treatment, Bud's condition continued to worsen, and this past week they made the decision to euthanize him. Bud and his brother Davis came to the Maryland Zoo in March of 2019. Zookeepers said they are monitoring Davis for similar illnesses. The double murder trial of disgraced ex-attorney Alec Murdaugh draws to a close. As the state calls its final witnesses, Murdaugh's defense attorney gets into a heated exchange with Murdaugh's former law partner in South Carolina, Ronnie Crosby. Crosby was friends with Murdaugh for 25 years. During cross-examination, the attorney implies that Crosby is only helping prosecutors because he's angry about Murdaugh stealing millions of dollars from their clients.
And if you're implying that I would come in here and somehow shade truth in any way because of that, that's I would take high offense with that, Mr. Hartpootlin.
I'm concerned about your high offense. Are you angry at him for stealing your money?
I have no feeling one way or the other.
I don't have any feeling about Alec Murdaugh betraying you and stealing your money.
Well, Murdaugh is believed to have stolen more than $10 million from clients at his firm for about a decade leading up to the murders. Now, he's admitted to stealing money but denies murdering his wife and son. Prosecutors accuse him of killing them because his life was spiraling out of control and he was out of options. Closing arguments are expected by tomorrow. When you choose a primary doctor or dentist or any other healthcare provider, you'd want to know if they have a history of misconduct or were ever successfully sued for malpractice. Well, an investigation by our Sinclair sister station in Oregon found the information is out there in a federal database, but patients just can't see it. Wright Gazaway investigates why and if patients will ever be able to find that information.
Looking back, I think my gut, my intuition told me something was off as a teenager.
Nicole Snow.
I couldn't figure out, like, why was that so weird, and I feel really yucky, and I'm crying, and I don't want to tell anyone what happened, but...
Katie Medley.
Had some experiences that I realized this is not normal.
And Lisa Pratt say their experiences with their doctor make them a lot more cautious about who they see.
Now as I go to doctors, of course I'm way more hesitant. I want to know their background. I want to know if they've ever had sexual misconduct or endangered any of their clients.
They say that doctor sexually abused them under the guise of medical care. What if there was one place you could go to see your healthcare provider's entire record?
So many people would know the truth and would be so much safer.
There actually is. It's called the National Practitioner Data Bank. Here's the catch. It's not public.
This, too, is an area that has not kept up with the times. And
Oregon senior U.S. Senator Ron Wyden sponsored legislation to create it in 1986. In addition to state board discipline, insurance companies and others are also required to report medical malpractice payments. Hospitals must report any suspensions or revocations of practicing privileges as well. The data bank is supposed to prevent bad doctors from moving around.
Do you support making that database public so it's a centralized place for patients to go?
Yes. And when we're talking about proven, flagrant abuses, the public has a right to know, and it's time for the law to be updated.
It may have made a difference to these women. Right now, it's difficult, if not impossible, to find out which medical providers are responsible for malpractice payments. You also may never know if your doctor lost practicing privileges at a hospital or clinic.
I'd very much like to see new hearings on this issue.
The American Medical Association and its membership of over 270,000 physicians and medical students oppose making the federal government's database public. In a statement, an organization spokesperson says in part, the AMA strongly believes patients should have access to reliable information about physicians, and state regulatory agencies are best positioned to offer well-balanced information to help patients make informed decisions about physicians. Wyden hopes the group will change its mind.
That kind of proven information, the public's got a right to have it.
As patients, would it be good to have some sort of public database where you could theoretically look at your doctor and see if they have any history nationally as opposed to having to go to each state individually?
100%. It would make me feel a lot safer.
Doctors that treat children, we should, as their parents, be able to look and see if they've had that discipline to keep our children safe. We deserve that, and our children deserve that.
That was Wright Gazaway reporting. Right now, there's no federal standard for discipline against doctors, so it is up to each state to grant a license or not, regardless of their history in other states.
Well, a really nice finish to the day after some clouds this morning, even some light rain and drizzle. Right now, it's 54. Mile 1 Cam showing you a little bit of sunshine in the background. Winds out of the east at 7 and humidity at 66%. No wind chill, it's just too mild. HD radar showing that we've got some rain and snow with our latest weather maker that came through here. Well, that was actually last night. Now snowing up around Portland, Maine and west of Boston. And there's another system That's off in the north central portion of the United States. That's going to be moving in to replace that by, say, about Thursday, Friday. So a very changeable forecast coming. Sunshine and mild for now, though, and it looks like tomorrow another nice day on the way. Then that next weather maker is going to begin moving at us. It's kind of diffuse right now. You see a little bit of rain and snow, Minneapolis to Omaha, and then there's some rain that's down east of Dallas across the deep south. That kind of congeals and comes together, and boom, there it is. Early Thursday morning, there could be some rain, and then more rain loading up here around St. Louis as well as Dallas, Texas. Even some snow on the northern side of that. And it's going to actually get quite cold as the next weather maker after this one moves in here on Friday. Could be a cold rain. There could even be a period of some wet snow or sleet that mixes in way up towards the state line after highs, if you wouldn't believe it, near 70 for Thursday. So temperatures all generally in the 50s to around 60 degrees right now. Clearing skies as the morning clouds are pushing out. A little bit cooler near the bay, with the bay temperatures generally in the 40s right now. You can see all those temperatures, about 10 to 15 degrees warmer than they were when it was cloudy and raining yesterday at the same time. Overnight tonight, the skies do clear, so that's some good news for the morning commute tomorrow. You're going to need some sunglasses in the heater. Then for tomorrow afternoon, we're into the 50s, and then clouds increase once again. Working Wednesday night into Thursday, there's that brief round of rain early Thursday morning. And then it looks like temperatures off to the races Thursday afternoon. High temperatures about 65 to 70 there. Those showers in the morning. And then Thursday night into Friday, yet another round of rain develops. Look at those temperatures dangerously close to freezing at 39. So a big slug of colder air as that next round of moisture moves in. But it's a cold rain here in Baltimore, I think, and for most of the area on Friday. Way up towards the state line again, there could be a brief bout of some wet snow or sleet that mixes in. Shouldn't be an accumulation issue. And then into the 50s Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Jonathan, thank you. Coming up at 5 o'clock on Fox 45 News, Maryland's congressional delegation tackles crime. The latest on their comments in D.C. on how to address violence in Baltimore and across the state. Turning your food waste into something useful. Next, why now might be the perfect time to compost. We have a recall alert to make you aware of. Nissan is recalling more than 800,000 SUVs. Rogue models from 2014 to 2020 are part of that recall, along with Rogue Sport models from 2017 through 2022. Nissan says these models have a jackknife folding keys that could partially fold and turn off the engine if the driver touches the fob. Now, that could potentially stop the power brakes and prevent airbags from inflating. There are no fixes for this yet, but owners should get letters with more instructions. Nissan says that they're not aware of any crashes or injuries from the problem so far. You know, composting is a great way to keep your food scraps from ending up in landfills while delivering nutrient-rich soil in return that you can also use for plants and all their vegetables. If you start now, you'll be set for spring planting. Patrice Sanders explains the do's and don'ts of at-home composting.
Turning your garbage into gold. We're talking about composting, where food scraps and other organic waste break down over time, blossoming into a nutrient-rich soil amendment, a gardener's treasure.
Depending on what type of compost system you're using, it's really important to know what you can and cannot put in each of them.
First, the system. How are you going to break down the food waste? There are three main options: backyard compost bins, vermicomposting, which uses worms, and in some cities, large-scale composting systems, which can include drop-off or even curbside pickup. If you opt for a backyard compost bin, toss in most food scraps, including eggshells, coffee grounds, and yard trimmings. Just avoid bones, meat, fish, and dairy products. Here's the trick. When you add new waste to the bin, cover it immediately with some leaves, straw, similar material. This keeps the ecosystem going, allowing it to break down for apartment dwellers. Vermicomposting might be your best bet, though, if you're in the apartment, since it doesn't involve a lot of space, but it does involve worms.
You can dispose of the same food scraps as you would in a backyard bin, but worms can shy away from items like garlic, onions, or citrus peels, so it's best to avoid putting those items in your vermicompost bin.
Municipal composting systems heat up to high temperatures as they break down the waste, which means the compost can handle more stuff like bones, meat, fish, cheese, and other milk products, and even some food-soiled paper products. Now, once you have your compost, you can add it to your flower and vegetable beds, mix it up with your potting soil for indoor plants, or just spread it over your lawn. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, a recent gun sentencing causes frustration. Why some say criminals aren't being punished severely enough for repeat offenses. A new public safety dashboard for Baltimore crime. Fox 45 News presses leaders on and experts on whether it will help people stay informed and safe. What does accountability mean to Maryland's congressional delegation? We press them on addressing violent crime.
The sentencing of a 26-year-old raising questions about punishment for convicted gun offenders. Why some say the consequences aren't severe enough.
The Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement unveils a new safety accountability dashboard. We talk with experts about whether it will help keep people safe.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
Well, tonight, local leaders from Baltimore, Annapolis, and Maryland's delegation in Washington, D.C. coming together to address crime.
In the city, a new public safety dashboard is released to help residents track crime. But what impact will that have on keeping people safe?
The move comes as a man is sentenced to a year in prison for a gun offense, despite promises to issue more severe punishments for repeat offenders.
Good evening. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. We have team coverage tonight on the statewide effort to crack down on crime, starting with Mackenzie Frost, who is live in D.C., where members of Maryland's congressional delegation held a meeting on violence prevention and public safety. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Mary, that's right. The meeting wrapped up about an hour ago, and really the big key takeaway from this meeting was collaboration and teamwork. And that's interesting because we have seen some of that take place already in Baltimore City, right? We've seen City State's Attorney Ivan Bates stand next to U.S. Attorney Eric Barron, setting the message about cracking down on violent crime in the Baltimore area. Well, those two were here in Washington, D.C. today, along with other members from the Maryland Congressional delegation, talking about ways to crack down on crime in Baltimore, but also in other communities across the state. They were talking about the need for resources and partnership, saying that everybody is on the same team working for safer communities everywhere in this state. Now, Senator Ben Cardin says that the key is really accountability, and we pressed him on what accountability means, especially when we're talking about this topic here at the federal level.
Accountability means results. Do we see a decline in violent crime? It was reported that the last quarter of last year and the first quarter of this year, we've seen some progress. We're going to be following that very carefully. But the bottom line is, are we getting the bad people off the streets? Is there a clear message? And the State Attorney of Baltimore City, State Attorney Bates, has been very clear about this. Those that are thinking about committing a criminal act, they need to know about what the consequences will be, and they're going to be serious consequences. That also, we believe, will have impact. But accountability is basically bringing down the amount of violent crime we see in our community.
And that makes sense. Mackenzie, did the state's attorney say anything about what he needs for his office?
Yeah, specifically, we talked about that after. We chatted a little bit after the press avail wrapped up, and State's Attorney Ahmed Bates tells me that he's really looking for resources, and specifically when it comes to resources for help with his office to review hundreds of hours of body cam footage that's coming into the State's Attorney's office from the Baltimore Police Department. He says under Marilyn Mosby's administration, there were certain funding requests that were just not made that he says could have helped them with this. He says that will now change, and he's looking forward to this new renewed teamwork and partnership that he hopes to continue to have here in Washington, D.C. as well. We're live on Capitol Hill. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
The justice system, again, says that there are no consequences or repercussions for your action.
The sentencing of a 26-year-old raises questions about punishment for convicted gun offenders. 3.5 years ago, that same man was convicted of a gun offense. After less than 3 months behind bars, he was released on supervised probation. Alexa Ashwell is live right now with what happened in court and how City State's Attorney Ivan Bates is responding. Alexa?
Yes, Kai, just 30 minutes ago, we were able to talk with Bates about this case. He thanked us for bringing it to his attention and admitted his office made a mistake.
Frustration in Baltimore.
The courts, again, have said go back to the streets.
After this week's sentencing of convicted gun offender Kendrick Harrison, the 26-year-old appeared before a judge in Baltimore City District Court after pleading guilty to yet another gun charge. Court documents detailing back on January 23rd, officers had found a loaded handgun in Harrison's car near the corner of Penn North in West Baltimore.
He still has 1 in the chamber, which means he's ready to fire, and 15 in the magazine. He's at Penn and North. a high crime area where citizens of this city have complained over and over again that not enough policing is done.
Legal expert and former FBI agent Tyrone Powers says he sat in on Harrison's sentencing and was shocked by the prosecutor's recommendation given Harrison's criminal history.
A suspended sentence with credit for time served. And the judge rejected it and gave him 1 year, but we'll give him credit for time served. And this is a second-time gun offender.
According to court documents, back in 2019, Harrison was arrested after officers found a loaded handgun on him during a traffic stop on North Avenue, just a mile away from this most recent arrest. Records show a judge suspended all but about 3 months of a 3-year sentence and placed Harrison on 3 years supervised probation. Given this history, Power says Harrison should have faced a much harsher penalty.
The justice system, again, says that there are no consequences or repercussions for your action.
Fox 45 News taking these concerns to Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who vowed to be tough on guns when he took the helm at the beginning of this year.
And enough is enough.
Asking the office to confirm and explain its recommendation and how it protects the public.
We should have filed enhanced penalties.
Bates admitting his office made a mistake, saying the offer was 3 years, all but 6 months suspended, and made by a new prosecutor.
The offer was made before ever talking to a supervisor, didn't talk to the supervisor of the old administration. Once that offer was made, the defense attorney immediately accepted it. So we're bound legally to have to go ahead.
Bates went on to say his office has met with this prosecutor, and the office will also be holding a station-wide training in just a matter of days. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, multiple shootings in Baltimore today. In the first, a man was shot just before 1:30 this morning on Payson Street near West Franklin. Investigators say the man heard a noise outside of his back door. When he opened it, he says he saw a man with a gun. And while trying to wrestle the gun from the suspect, the victim was shot in the hand. The suspect got away.
At 6 o'clock this morning in South Baltimore, police say they responded to a shooting. Officers say they found a man shot multiple times in the back on Duane Avenue in Brooklyn. The 29-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. Anyone with information is asked to call Baltimore police. At the start of the day, 42 people have been killed in the city. That's 12 fewer than this time last year. So far, 80 people have been shot and survived shootings. That's compared to 107 last year at this time.
Well, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement unveils its first ever public safety accountability dashboard today, meant to highlight metrics across Baltimore where, as you just heard, the violence continues on city streets. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live now with a closer look at this dashboard and the expectations of it. Maxine?
Well, Mary, this dashboard is a first of its kind, and it's meant to bring more transparency when it comes to public safety here in Baltimore. But will it make the city any safer?
Good afternoon, everyone.
It's meant to be a real-time snapshot of public safety in Baltimore, a city plagued by violence day and night, where already this year, more than 40 people have been murdered. The Public Safety Accountability Dashboard, unveiled today by the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, allows you to track crime data throughout Baltimore, right down to your neighborhood or police district. It includes not just homicides and non-fatal shootings, but arrests, prosecution and conviction data, even sentencing and demographics. City leaders say it's designed to bring greater levels of transparency and allow the public to hold agencies accountable. But we asked if it will be effective in preventing crime. Mayor Scott telling us the data has been out there for a decade. Now it's just in one place for city residents, meaning crime may not change.
I'll say the question in a more simplified way. This data is coming from the police department. The police department, our Safe Streets workers, everyone that is working that you see here uses data each and every day to determine where we're going to be focused and how we're going to be operating. What we're talking about today is how we're sharing that data with the public, especially for those who cry for transparency.
While the dashboard does touch on the city's community violence intervention program, when it comes to safe streets, it only goes as far as to show a map of their locations.
The map that you see here is the map that's been present on Open Baltimore since April of 2022. So we aren't introducing anything new here. This is something that we shared almost a year ago now.
We've been investigating Monzi's flagship gun violence intervention program for the past year, and its effectiveness and oversight is still unknown. Despite hundreds of questions to city leaders, we've received few answers about how the program is structured, how the money is spent, and who the employees are.
We will be having a discussion very publicly in the coming weeks with regard to our annual report on Safe Streets, but also the community violence intervention ecosystem as a whole.
And this new dashboard leaves those questions unanswered still. We asked when more information about Safe Streets will be forthcoming. Well, this dashboard is ever evolving. You can access it right now on Monzi's website and on Open Baltimore. We also have a link on our website at foxbaltimore.com. Reporting live from City Hall, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
After weeks of waiting, the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys will finally learn its fate.
That's right. We are taking a live look at the meeting that is just about to get started. The school board poised to vote on renewing or rejecting the school's charter. It comes after a divided school board reached a stalemate last week. This vote tonight, unlike last week's, is being held in person.
Last week, Baltimore City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises recommended the board renew Baltimore Collegiate's charter only if they hire more certified teachers and improve special education services. Amid the controversy, Baltimore's Collegiate's CEO tells us he's optimistic.
That's their job, to have concerns. And so I want them to work that out. I want them to be able to be comfortable with supporting us. But I implore them to just think about what we do for the city. There's lots of parents who thank us for turning their sons around.
Baltimore Collegiate says its graduation rates are above 90%, while city public schools only graduate 67% of students. A Fox 45 Project Baltimore investigation also uncovered 23 Baltimore City public schools where no student tested proficient in math. Schools that aren't facing scrutiny or at risk of closure.
Ending plea deals for repeat offenders. The battle in Annapolis today over a piece of criminal justice reform.
2 people are killed in a fire in Dundalk. We'll have the latest on the investigation.
2 senators working behind the scenes to prevent major cuts to Social Security. I'm Atrel Nashar with the possible compromises on the table and how they could impact your retirement.
And it looks like if you're going to be headed out to dinner this evening, temperatures fall from the 50s back into the 40s overnight. So keep a jacket around. But we've got another mild day on the way for tomorrow. Wait until you see how warm it gets for Thursday. That's up in my Weather Authority forecast.
The Supreme Court hears arguments on President Biden's loan forgiveness plan. That program would give millions of Americans up to $20,000 of debt relief if they qualify. It's been on hold as multiple states challenge the plan. Activists rallied outside the court, calling for justices to allow the debt relief today.
So we can stand here to show the justices of the Supreme Court that we need relief, and we need relief now. And we need to let them know again that today is a great day to cancel student debt.
Well, currently, federal student loan payments are still on a pandemic-related pause. How and when the justices rule will determine when those payments resume.
Well, do you think President Biden's plan to forgive some student loans is fair? Yes or no? Take out your phone, open the camera pointed at that QR code right there on your screen, and you can then weigh in on our national question of the day. Well, there is a bipartisan effort underway in the U.S. Senate to save Social Security. For years, trustees have warned lawmakers that unless they take some action, retirees over the next decade will see benefit cuts. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has the story.
It's money taken out of every paycheck, and for decades, American workers haven't had to think twice. It will be there for them when they retire. That's no longer the case if Congress doesn't act.
In just over a decade, there will be a brutal across-the-board benefit cut of over 20%. And that will hit everybody, from the wealthiest retirees to the 95-year-old widow who depends on the program for all of her income.
Social Security trustees have spent years warning lawmakers of this kind of outcome, but a fix is almost certain to come with a political price. Independent Senator Angus King of Maine and Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana are working together on options. Semaphore reports one of those options now is gradually raising the retirement age to 70. Spokesmen for King and Cassidy tell us, quote, the Social Security Trust Fund is going insolvent in 9 years. Senators Cassidy and King have been working on a legislative solution, which has been reported in the past. The plan is not finalized. Other fixes have been considered, but also risk upsetting voters, like calculating a retiree's benefits based on how many years they've worked instead of the current model, which is based on how much they've made over their career. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget says at this point, more than one big change may be needed. Another is slowing the growth of benefits for wealthy recipients.
Do we want to lift the payroll tax cap or rate and get more revenues into the programs? All of these are legitimate fixes, and frankly, the problem is now so big because we waited so long. We probably have to do a little bit of all of them.
The longer lawmakers wait, the bigger the risk of benefit cuts for American retirees in the next decade. But ahead of the 2024 elections, the political risk of getting behind any of these reforms may mean they put off a solution even longer. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atra El-Nashar reporting.
A tornado hit Chicago's suburbs last night. Take a look at this security camera footage from a home that was impacted by the winds. That storm picked up debris and broke fences. It comes as tornadoes and severe winds are being reported across central U.S., and the Northeast is coping with another round of rain and snow.
A live look now at the conditions in our area. Not seeing any of that severe weather, but clouds from yesterday's rain sticking around today, although I see a peak of sunshine in both those pictures, which is great. And I just heard we had like one of the warmest Februaries ever.
Yeah, actually the warmest February on record, at least up until today. And I think with our temperatures making it into the 50s again this afternoon, above average, we're probably going to hold that for the entirety of February. So, yeah, the warmth continues for us, and that rain snow system in the Northeast, yep, that gave us a rain last night into early this morning. Kind of a wet morning commute, I know that. 53 degrees, winds out of the east at 9 miles an hour right now. Humidity at 69%. Beautiful look, actually, as the sun sets on the Toyota Ishida Harbor Skycam. There is that weather maker that's up here in Maine and also just west of Boston, getting a good little bout of snow right now. And then you work your way into the upper Midwest and all the way down into portions of the Great Plains. You see all these wind advisories. That's part and parcel of the next weather maker, the next system that's going to be moving at us. For now, we take a break. Sunshine, temperatures 50s today. Sunshine and temperatures in the 50s tomorrow. And then there's this. The rain and the snow up around Minneapolis, and then you'll see some of this moisture kind of out of nowhere getting caught up on the jet stream right out of the Gulf of Mexico, and that moisturizes, if you will, this system. So early Thursday, I think we'll see a round of showers. That'll pull off the coast, and then as colder air moves in, could get a little more interesting as you see here west of St. Louis and up toward Denver, rain and snow mixture there, and that will move up toward us. Temperatures generally are in the 40s and 50s. I think that's a bad observation there, Frederick, at that 37. But everybody else right around 60 here at Laurel, and in the 40s to around 50 along the bay with some of the cooler water temperatures. Sunshine breaking out nicely after kind of a cloudy morning, bringing us anywhere between about 5 and 15 degrees warmer than just 24 hours ago. And those temperatures stay nice into this evening for any outdoor activities. The skies clear out. You see here overnight into the wee hours of tomorrow morning. Temperatures do settle to close to freezing by lunchtime tomorrow. Sunshine and highs getting to near 50, and 5 p.m. temperatures going to be in the 40s and 50s, I think, as the sun begins to set. Now, overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, temperatures generally in the 40s, although it looks like rain moves in, maybe a cold rain, or I should say a cool rain at that, but that's all it is some rain. And then some milder temperatures going to be setting up as we could make a run at 70 on Thursday afternoon before a big drop off into Friday. 37, mostly clear skies tonight. For tomorrow, 57 clouds and sun, 7-day forecast. 57 tomorrow goes to 68 with a few showers around during the morning on Thursday. That's a much colder rain for Friday. High only 51 and 80% chance of rain. And some computer models actually say, especially the European computer model, although less in the breadth of it at this point in the latest model runs, could be a little bit of mixed frozen precip at the beginning of that rain Friday, and then gorgeous for the weekend.
Jonathan, thank you. 2 people dead, a third escapes with their life. The latest on what we know about a deadly fire in Dundalk this morning. They're great at solving crime, but will they help stop crime? Asking a law enforcement expert if more cameras in Baltimore County will help stop crime in that area. Scientists tonight warning residents in East Palestine, Ohio, that high levels of chemicals at the Norfolk Southern train derailment could pose long-term health risks. Researchers at Texas A&M and Carnegie Mellon University analyzed data from the EPA on the chemical leak. The measurements suggest there are alarming levels of at least 9 different chemicals the train was carrying in that area. The EPA and local government officials have repeatedly said their tests show the air quality in the area is safe and that the chemicals should dissipate. Developing now, the double murder trial of disgraced South Carolina attorney Alex Murdaugh is heating up as it draws to a close. Murdaugh's defense attorney getting into a heated exchange with Murdaugh's former law partner today. Ronnie Crosby was friends with Murdaugh for 25 years. During cross-examination, the defense implied Crosby is only helping prosecutors because he's angry about Murdaugh stealing millions of dollars from their clients.
And if you're implying that I would come in here and somehow shade truth in any way because of that, I would take high offense with that, Mr. Hartpootlin.
I'm concerned about your high offense. Are you angry at him for stealing your money?
I have no feeling one way or the other.
I don't have any feeling about Alex Murdaugh betraying you and stealing your money.
Murdaugh is believed to have stolen more than $10 million from clients over a decade leading up to the murders. He's admitted to stealing money but denies murdering his wife and son. Closing arguments are expected tomorrow. The city claiming it had inspected a storm drain when it really hadn't looked at it in decades. Hearing from a resident who lost his home to a sinkhole in Baltimore. Will cameras improve public safety? We talk with a law enforcement expert about the new safety measures in Towson. And should violent offenders be able to strike a plea bargain? The new criminal justice reform Republicans are pushing in Annapolis.
Last summer, the Maryland Public Policy Institute found out of 110 homicide suspects, 80% of them had prior convictions that should have kept them in prison beyond the date they allegedly committed the murder. But they were allowed back on the streets because of plea deals. Today in Annapolis, a new Republican-backed bill aimed at preventing repeat offenders from getting plea deals.
That bill would stop the court from offering a deal to anyone who has been convicted of a violent crime like murder, rape, assault, or robbery. Olivia Dance reports from Annapolis.
Republican Delegate Metzger is sponsoring the bill, and he says that the bill would address the violent crime that we're seeing across the state, including in Baltimore City. Republican lawmakers in Annapolis are tired of the out-of-control crime, and now Delegate Rick Metzger of Baltimore County is proposing a new bill.
The heartbeat came from a neighbor friend of mine who lost her son in a ferocious murder over a dirt bike. The boy is up for plea bargain, parole, and this needs to stop.
The bill would prevent repeat violent offenders from getting plea deals.
We talk about we want to be tough on crime. We as lawmakers, as leaders, we need to send a message. And the message is that, just like Ivan Bates said, if you want to commit a crime, bring your toothbrush.
Last year, the Maryland Public Policy Institute found out of 110 homicide suspects, 80% of them had prior convictions that should have kept them in prison. But they were allowed back on the streets because of plea deals. A plea deal that stands out is that of Luther Trent, who admitted to setting his ex-girlfriend's house on fire with her and her two roommates inside.
Our former prosecutor, who was very soft on crime, gave him a plea deal of only 6 months. Of course, thankfully, the federal government stepped in, and he ended up getting over 30 years in jail.
Delegate Ryan Naraki of Baltimore County believes this bill would address situations like what we saw with Luther Trent.
It looks at bills like that, where you might have a prosecutor that decides to be really soft on violent crime and says, hey, you can't be soft on these kind of violent crimes anymore.
He believes it would also give states' attorneys another tool in their toolbox. During a hearing on Tuesday, the bill faced some backlash from Democrats, worried eliminating plea deals will create more work for states' attorneys.
Does that mean that literally every citable offense would have to be tried if a person in their past had committed a crime of violence?
If it's listed in here, that's what it is.
That's what it would be. Every single one. Thousands of them, statewide. Well, that'll show them.
Their concerns come as Democrats are pushing a bill this week that would prevent anyone under the age of 25 from being charged with felony murder. Some Republican lawmakers worry bills like that won't tackle the crime crisis.
I think that the Democrats want the soft approach. I think the Republican says, you know what, enough's enough.
Delegate Metzger will need to get Democrats on board in order for his bill to become law, but he says that he's willing to work together to make changes to the bill so that at least some version of it passes. For now, reporting in Annapolis, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think people who are charged with violent crimes should be offered plea deals? Right now, 95% of those who voted say no. You can make your voice heard by going to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
He was everything. Right when I heard that he died, I shut down.
A vigil in honor of Trayshawn Harmon, the 17-year-old from Baltimore who was gunned down near the Towson Circle.
Crime in Towson has been a concern, with some residents telling Fox 45 they don't feel safe in their neighborhoods. In addition to multiple shootings, 3 people were raped just steps from the Towson Circle early this month, according to police. In the wake of the violence, Baltimore County leaders held a community safety walk and promised to change things in the area, including having more officers and additional security cameras.
And the question now, will these measures work for Baltimore County? Fox 45's Megan Gillen spoke with a law enforcement expert, asking if increasing the number of cameras could actually keep neighbors safe.
After a recent spike in crime in Towson, county officials have said that they're looking to add more security cameras to the area. But will it help reduce crime or at the least help solve crime? Law enforcement expert Mari Richards weighing in.
Cameras can be an important tool, primarily, after a crime's been committed, for investigations, to get video of an offender, vehicles, things like that, very helpful. The big question here, and Baltimore and Towson is, do they deter criminals, just like you asked? And they can if criminals fear consequences. But I'm afraid in Baltimore and Towson right now, for a couple of big problems, big reasons, that deterrence is not there.
Richard says until that changes, the cameras really won't reduce crime. I'm Megan Gillen, Fox 45 News.
Well, police are investigating a serious car crash in Glen Burnie. Just after 1 a.m., officers responded to a scene on East Furnace Branch Road near Point Pleasant Road. A 46-year-old woman was hit by a car while walking across the street. The victim was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries while the driver remained on the scene.
2 people are dead following a fire in Dundalk, and now the Baltimore division of the ATF is joining the investigation into that fire. The agency is assisting the Baltimore police and fire departments to determine a cause. That fire broke out around 6 o'clock at a home near Sandy Plains Elementary School. One person who was in the home was able to make it out safely, but again, 2 people have been confirmed killed. We spoke with neighbors who tell us they heard and saw something.
Well, I don't feel safe anywhere anymore, you know, and I barricade my doors and all at night because I don't know, I don't feel safe even going up the road the way things are today.
Then I heard and grabbed my keys because after the fire I heard boom, like a bomb or something. Like I heard booming, and then the fire it started exploding. So I just heard explosion, a bunch of explosion. So I grabbed my keys and ran down the street.
Now, 2 people have been confirmed killed from that fire, but their identities have not been determined. The Red Cross is helping with those residents who are displaced.
Hartford County firefighters also dealing with a fire early this morning. It happened just after 6 a.m. on Shady Drive in Edgewood. A mobile home went up in flames. Investigators say a resident woke up to find a fire in her bedroom already burning. They believe a space heater started it. Luckily, everybody who lived in the home was able to escape. No injuries were reported.
A Fox 45 News investigation reveals Baltimore City might not have been entirely accurate when it comes to last summer's sinkhole on North Avenue. That sinkhole destroyed homes, and now the city is refusing to pay for the damage, leaving families without a place to live and without answers. In fact, the city says it inspected the storm drain that led to the sinkhole, but new documents tells a different story. Rebecca Pryor has the latest.
This is where my house began at. This was my backyard.
Standing where his home and everything he owned once stood.
Still paying the mortgage, yeah.
The gaping hole now covered up.
Something that's not even here.
But for Quentin Bell, this patch of dirt still a massive money pit.
I still don't have a clue of if I'm getting paid or not, or even if I can even rebuild right here.
It all started last July with the collapse of a 115-year-old stone arch storm drain. The collapse creating a sinkhole and forcing the demolition of Bell's home and several others. In a November statement, DPW admitting the damage was ultimately due to aging infrastructure. But when it came time to pay up for what residents lost, first insurance denying their claims, then the city following suit. In a letter sent to the residents, the city's law department claiming they're not liable for the damage because, quote, there was no notice to the city of Baltimore of any issues prior to the date of the incident.
To know that these pipes are this many years old and the city is, basically blaming me, basically it's like a slap in the face.
In an effort to uncover what responsibility the city has in looking after its own infrastructure, Fox 45 asking, when was the last time this storm drain was inspected? On October 20th, DPW sending us a statement claiming, quote, this year, an earlier internal review of the North Avenue drain did not indicate items of concern. But when we pressed for evidence of that inspection, no response. Only after formally filing a Maryland Public Information Act and about a dozen emails later was it revealed the latest inspection was actually done 23 years ago. And instead of a detailed inspection report, this is all the evidence the city has to show at one point in the year 2000, no damage to the storm drain was detected.
And you're going to tell me that I, the homeowner, should have gave you notice when you guys haven't even checked it at all.
Further investigating also finding, according to the Maryland Department of the Environment, the city is required to conduct preventative maintenance inspections on all city storm drains at least once every 3 years. Fox 45 following up with the city on Monday asking, is it possible routine inspections could have detected damage that might have prevented the storm drain's collapse? And if the city isn't routinely inspecting its aging infrastructure, doesn't that put the public safety at risk? As of News Time Tonight, we have not heard back.
That has me even more worried to even drive down the street anywhere in the city.
Bell's biggest fear, if it happened to him, it could happen to you.
They looking at it as East Baltimore. These houses not worth no money. I think Brandon Scott don't even care about this area.
8 months and 8 more mortgage payments later, Bell still left with no home, no answers, and no trust in city leadership.
It was no failure, damages done to it. How do you know? So now you lying to me, you're denying me, and you neglecting me all at once?
Those homeowners have filed a negligence lawsuit against the city of Baltimore. They've also asked a number of questions pertaining to the inspection of this storm drain and whether or not the city really did its due diligence to keep residents safe. Their lawyer tells Fox 45 they should have that information by the end of March.
Well, happening tomorrow, the emergency allotment of the Federal Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP, ends for Marylanders. The extra money was approved back in 2020 to help families get through the pandemic. Households received an extra $95 per month because of the emergency allotment. According to the federal filing, that asked for an extension of benefits in February. Maryland distributed more than 340,000 emergency allotment benefits, totaling more than $69 million.
The United States is warning China, do not interfere. The concerns the superpower could be backing Russia in its war with Ukraine.
As we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic, what are the lessons learned and how much can we do without knowing how it actually started? I'm Christine Frizzau on Capitol Hill, where those questions are taking center stage.
And temperatures today working their way well into the 50s after a record warm February. Temperatures fall from the 50s back into the 40s this evening to wrap up the commute. But I'll let you know when rain could be a part of the forecast once again, and maybe some highs near 70. Some Weather Authority forecast.